everybody, welcome back to Cottoverdi. My name's Annette. If you're new to my channel, I planted 368 dahlias this year, and I am going to do a video today comparing the different varieties of white and very pastel shaded dahlias so that we can sort of line them up and have a look at, well, first of all, have a look at what they're like in the garden, and I'll tell you how I think they've performed, and then I'll line them all up so we can compare them side by side, which I think is really useful because I always struggle when I'm choosing which dahlias to buy because it's hard to compare the different flower sizes, it's hard to know what the plant looks like when it's in the garden, and it's hard to know just how different the colours really are. If you're new to dahlias, you may not realise that a lot of dahlias will change colour as the season progresses. So when they first start flowering, the first flush of flowers that you get are often, sometimes actually, quite different to what you'll get towards the end of the season as the weather cools and as the plant sort of loses a bit of its energy, I suppose. So here in the UK at the moment, the weather has turned a bit. It's actually really quite chilly. I'm having to wear jumpers late in the day. It's quite windy today. I've waited for it to stop raining. So a lot of the flowers may have sort of, you know, drizzly, pretty dewy bits on them, but that's because it's been raining all morning. But I really want to get this filmed because if it's going to get much colder, I may start losing dahlias sooner than we normally would. It's really the beginning of September, and I normally have dahlias right the way through to the end of October. So I'm not sure what's going on with the weather this year. If you'd like to see more videos like this, then do subscribe to my channel. I will definitely be filming the hot colours. I'm thinking of doing just pinks as well. So if you're interested in comparing the different varieties of pinks, or if you're interested in looking at all the different hot colours together, I could do purples as well, actually. That'd be another one. Let me know in the comments below whether there are particular groupings that you'd like to see, and I will try and cover those this year. So I'm going to start by picking all the white coloured dahlias that I have in the garden, and I'll start with this big one here behind me. So this is Millie here. Millie is quite a large dahlia. It's not a dinner plate dahlia, but I would say it's a lovely large decorative dahlia. It's new to me this year, and it's sort of this lovely ivory colour with a greener centre to it. Now these are the first two flowers that I've had. It's taken a really long time to start flowering. Around it, and this is possibly not a particularly good combination, I've got a great silence over here. This darker pink colour up here is Jowie Frambo, and then over here I've got my Lena Fleur, and I've got a little bit of night silence down here, and the lovely purple one. If you've been following along, you'll know that I dot Rocco around everywhere because I think it looks really pretty. So that is a Rocco. So this is Millie. It's a really nice size. It's not too heavy at the moment. It doesn't seem to be weighing the plant down at all, and I just think it's got a really attractive colour on the inside. It's kind of a chartreuse green. Let me see if I can get that to focus and get the colour right. That's quite hard to get the colour right. So actually it's not showing up particularly well, but it is a really lovely chartreuse green just in here. So down at the bottom of the garden here, this is the lower flower bed where I've got absolutely loads of gorgeous sort of warmer coloured dahlias. So here, tucked away, is a lovely white dahlia called Rosendale Natasha. Now I chose this dahlia specifically because my daughter's called Natasha and I just thought it was a cute idea. So it's right next to Alloway Cottage, and over here we've got Sir Alf Ramsey and Sasha is the smaller pink one, and in the front here is Palmaris, and this is Daisy Duke. So I'm going to walk around the other side and show you what Rosendale Natasha looks like. So this is Rosendale Natasha here, and directly behind it is a eupatorium called Snowball, which is just coming into flower. I think that looks quite cute. So Rosendale Natasha is definitely one of the shorter white ball dahlias that I've got, but it's still really pretty, and it was one of the first to flower this year. So I had flowers quite early on. It's very healthy, and I think for one plant I've got quite a good number of flowers, and there are lots of buds still. So I think Rosendale Natasha, again, it's got this really lovely green centre. It's more of a limey green centre, and it's a really nice ball shape. We can see how the petals curve backwards on it like this, but it's just a really lovely ball shape. So I'm going to pick one of these so that we can compare it to the other white dahlias. I think this is a really useful size for flower arranging. So over here, this border has a lot more of the pinks and sort of, I guess, prettier colours. I don't know, they're just, this is sort of a calmer border for me, although if we look down there, it does tend to get a little bit warmer and brighter down there. But I just like this border to be a little bit softer and more gentle, I suppose is the way I would describe it. So here in the front, we've got a couple of Karma Martin Swan, which is this lovely water lily one here. And up here, the taller white one is called White Ballerina. Now, Karma Martin Swan has flowered profusely. I have just had to deadhead it quite a lot because we had so much rain. And also, this Elaeagnus behind had a branch that fell off and crushed the plants. So that's why it's looking a little bit sparse. But actually, I think you'll be able to see in my previous Dahlia tour video how many flowers there were on these plants. So it normally is a lot fuller than that, so don't take the sparseness of these plants into account, because I do believe that it's a really good flowerer. If that's a word, it's probably not a word. So let's take a closer look at Karma Martin Swan. So here we can see the big gap behind where a lot of things were crushed, and I've just had to take them out. But let's ignore that and have a look at these flowers. So these are much flatter white dahlias, and they have a more sort of yellow centre, more yellow than green, I would say, but they are really pretty. I do like the arrangement of the petals, and I like the sort of pointy style, if you like. And these ones are only about 2 foot tall, but Karma Martin Swan definitely gets taller. So these are both Karma Martin Swan here, and I would say that they are 3 foot tall, so about 90 centimetres. This is White Ballerina, so this is not one of them. So I'm going to cut one of these now so that we can take a closer look. So this is Karma Martin Swan, and you can see what I mean by it being a more flat dahlia, and I do think that it's definitely got more yellow in the centre than green, but maybe when we can compare them we'll see that in fact they're all very similar. As the flower ages, this green centre will go, it will turn more white, like this one here. So they don't stay that green colour the whole way through, they will eventually lighten up considerably. If we then move on from Karma Martin Swan, which is down here and here, to this taller white dahlia up here called White Ballerina. The flowers on this one are much larger. They open up to show the yellow stamens very quickly, so the flowers do tend to go over a lot faster than Karma Martin Swan, which I don't have to deadhead nearly as often. And if you saw my earlier dahlia tour, then you'll know that I didn't really love this dahlia in the beginning, but actually it's growing on me a little bit. I like its height and I do like the flowers. Let's have a look at this one, which is a lot prettier. Sorry, it's so windy, I'm having to hold the dahlia. But this is how the dahlia opens. So you can see it's only just opened. You can't really see any of the pollen. It's got this sort of yellow centre to it and some cute little petals in the middle. It also is quite a flat dahlia, not as flat as Karma Martin Swan, and it's got more rounded petals, and it's definitely a larger flower. Let me cut this one. So this is White Ballerina. If the wind ever stops blowing. Tiny amount of lilac shade to the background, but I think that that is actually particularly pretty. If we can catch it before it's pollinated, then it would make a really good cut flower. Now we have had to stake this one because it's so tall, it definitely needs staking. So I do actually have 2 white dahlias over here. This one I don't think has got any flowers, it's behind here, and that was Normandy wedding day. I'll pop a picture up on the screen quickly so you can see what it looked like when it was in flower, but I don't have one to do a comparison. But this one over here is Blighton Everest, and I'm filming from this side because it's facing this way. That plant actually has fallen over slightly in all the winds we're having. Surrounding it, here I've got Wizard of Oz, I've got Cupcakes Cosmos up there, I think that's Cupcakes Blush. This is Senior's Hope down here. We've got Melissa Anna Marieke is the darker purple one here. And this really big dinner plate dahlia, the deep pink one, is Café au lait rosé. So let's take a look at Blighton Everest. So as we can see, the plant has fallen over. Blighton Everest has got this really lovely lilac centre, and it's definitely more of an ivory colour than some of the other whites we're looking at. I'm going to go in and cut it so that we can see it properly. So this is Blighton Everest. We can see that it's more creamy. It's again a lovely ball shape. It's going over very slightly. You can see the petals are all the way around. It has got this really lovely lilac-y centre that I think goes particularly well with the colours that I've put it with. It's just a shame that the plant's fallen over and I've only got this one flower to show you. I just wanted to make sure that I included this combination here. So this is Karma Martin Swan with Pink Runner, and I think if I had more of the white that it would look really spectacular, and maybe if it was planted slightly more densely, but I do think that these colours go particularly well. Down here at the bottom, this particular dahlia, now I bought this as Small World. Somebody once told me, I think last year, that it was actually Snowflake, but I do think it's Small World. It's a very, very small, tiny ball dahlia, and I'm not in love with it. I didn't love it last year, and that's because I thought I had it planted maybe in too shady a spot, but actually this year I've planted it where it's getting a lot of sun. I've got it planted with Sweet Love, that's this really tall pink dahlia here. I had a lot of snapdragons as well at the bottom, so I thought that it was going to do quite well here, but it still hasn't performed particularly well. It's quite a bushy plant and I have had to deadhead it a lot, but again it's one of these dahlias where I feel like the flowers don't last particularly long. So I'm going to try and pick one that hasn't gone over already. Okay, they're all going over in various different ways. I mean, perhaps it's just not a very healthy tuber. So this is what I think is Small World. It's quite creamy coloured, but then it is a little bit old. We can see that the centre is open. So this one has been in flower a little while. I don't have any that are brand new. As I said, I've had to do a lot of deadheading because of the rain. But this is very small. If you're looking for something that's little small for the front of the border, it's very short. Probably only gets sort of 1.5 foot tall. I'm holding it like that because it's very windy and so it's blowing around a lot. You can see that the stems are very thin, but then it's a very short plant. Now we're going to look at some white dahlias that I've got in this top border here, and I have 3 white dahlias, and I was trying to do a comparison because again I can't tell what the difference is when I'm looking at them online, so I wanted to see what they would all look like and how they would perform in my garden. So let's take a closer look. This is another Cupcakes Cosmos up here, but this one is Cupcakes White, and directly behind it there is a white ball dahlia. We're going to have to go around the other side to see and pick that one actually. This is a double-sided bed. If we swing around, then hopefully we can see another white ball dahlia here. This one is Skelmersdale Jane, and then just the other side of this obelisk over here, there is another one. So let's take a look at Skelmersdale Jane. So I've got Skelmersdale Jane, the white ball dahlia here, planted with some Salvia amistad. This is Eye Candy, the pink dahlia, but it's actually quite difficult for me to get really close because I've planted Skelmersdale Jane so far back. Let me try and go around this side and see if we can get any nearer. So the one with the yellow centre there is going over slightly, but actually I'm going to pick one that is round the back here that's got the purple centre that I love Skelmersdale Jane for. So let me try and get hold of that one. Skelmersdale Jane was one of my favourite dahlias last year, so I don't know why I buried it in the middle of a bed. But it's this lovely ball dahlia. It's got a pinky centre to it. I mean, I suppose it's a little bit of a lilac colour too, so you could describe it as lilac. And it's just a really nice ball dahlia. It's very tall, so I think that's one of the reasons why I like it, but obviously it's another one that's going to need staking. This particular flower is not very big, but they do come slightly larger than this, so I would say this is possibly not the best example of its size. This one's about 2.5 inches across. I'd say they probably get to about 3 inches across, especially if they're not buried amongst other flowers. It would be a lot happier. So down this end, in amongst some more cosmos and some lovely delphiniums, over here in the background is another ball dahlia. This one is called Rosendale Porcelain. So as with the other ball on the other side, I'm going to go around the other side and show you what they look like from the patio, and then try and pick one from there. But I just wanted to show you what they all look like in amongst the flowers on this side of the border. So we're around on the patio side of the border now. Down here we've got a lovely dahlia called Silver Years. I may pick that one just so we can see what a really pale pink one looks like in comparison. So this white ball dahlia up here is called Rycroft Jan, and that one is about just over three meters. It's just over 3 foot tall. And then down the other end, if we pan down here, we can see this is Rycroft Porcelain down here, this one. So I'm going to pick both and then we can compare them. So this is Rycroft Jan. It looks more creamy than it is in real life. I'll try and fix that in editing. You can see that there are loads of buds. So again, these are, you know, really wonderfully floriferous. That's just one plant that I've got there with all those flowers. But this is another lovely ball dahlia, and it doesn't have the lilac or the pink at the centre that some of the other ball dahlias have. I love the Verbena bonariensis. The purple and the white, I think, just go so beautifully. It also brings out the lovely delphinium at the back there. So this is Rycroft Porcelain. And again, we've got the cosmos that we could see from the other side and some more Salvia amistad over here. So this is Rycroft Porcelain. And you know, when it's on its own, it looks very similar to Rycroft Jan. It's going to be very interesting to put them side by side and see how they differ. Again, this is another one that doesn't have the pink or purple at the centre of it. It's a very pure colour, which I guess you'd expect from the name. Lovely ball-shaped dahlia, again with loads and loads of buds on it. And that's just one plant that I've got there that is flowering a lot. But as I said, it rained this morning, and I don't know if you can see, but a lot of the flower heads are dipping down. So it hasn't got particularly strong stems on this plant. It could be that I need to deadhead lower, because if you deadhead lower, then the stems tend to be stronger. So I could try doing that. So this particular dahlia down here is called Silver Years. And when the flowers are very new, they start off almost white and then they get this sort of pink flush to them. I thought it'd be really interesting to pick one of these and just include that as part of our comparison, so we can see what this particular dahlia looks like with all the other whites. So this is Silver Years when it first comes out, and I think it's pretty white. It does have a very slight pink tinge to it. I'll get closer to the actual plant so we can see how pink Silver Years does get as the flowers mature. So this is Silver Years as the flowers mature. So it does have this really, really soft, lovely pink touch to it. I mean, if you're planning a wedding or anything, I think Silver Years is a wonderful dahlia to plant in your garden. What I'm going to do now is put each of the dahlias into a vase. I love doing this so that we can look at them side by side. Now I've put a little tag around each one because some of them are so similar. I didn't want to get the varieties mixed up. So you will see little tags on them, but that's all they are. It's just so I can be sure that I'm giving you accurate information and we can do this comparison. And then hopefully I'll know which dahlias I prefer and which ones I want to grow next year, and I can give you that advice too, or you could just choose from the display that I'm going to put out now. Okay, so here are all my white ivory creamy coloured dahlias. They are, I mean, none of them is a really pure white. I'd say the whitest is Karma Martin Zwan, this one here. White Ballerina is possibly also quite white, and that's definitely a lovely tall dahlia. And this one here, Rosendale Natasha, looks whiter, but then it is newer than the other two. But I do think that this is a more white dahlia than any of the others. I'll just go through them then and name them, and if I can fit the names up on the screen, I'll put them next to each flower. But I think maybe I'll do that right at the end. But hopefully as I go through them, you can make a note of the ones that you like. So the really lovely big one at the back is Millie. This one here is White Ballerina. This one here is Blighton Everest. This is Skelmersdale Jane. So these are the two that have got the lilac-y purple pinky centres to them. This one here, this one in the centre, it's really hard to point. This one in the centre here is Karma Martin Swan. This one here is a very young Silver Years. This is a small flower. They're normally much bigger than this, but I've picked it early before it's fully bloomed out. So it would normally be a very similar size to Karma Martin Swan, but you can see that it's definitely got a pinker tinge to it. So this one here is Rosendale Natasha. Sorry, it's very windy out. It's really difficult to do it. This one here is Rycroft Jan. So this one grows to 1.2 meters and has a smaller flower, so about 10 centimeters. This is Rycroft Porcelain, which is a larger flowered dahlia and grows to 1.4 meters. And I think it would have looked taller in the flower border if we had managed to stake it before it fell over so much. If you're asking for hints and tips about any of them, I would say that Rosendale Natasha definitely flowered early. Skelmersdale Jane was stunning last year when it was in full sun and not crowded out by other plants, so I do still love it. Karma Martin Swan, just flowers and flowers and flowers, and really doesn't need deadheading as much as other dahlias, so I think this is a really good doer. I'm new to Blighton Everest this year and I do like it, but again it's another one that I've buried in the border a little bit, so I can't give you a very good review of that one. White Ballerina I hated at the beginning of the season, but now that it's producing more flowers, you do still have to deadhead this one because of the open centre, but actually it lasts longer than other open centre dahlias and it is lovely and tall, but White Ballerina needs staking. And then these two, the Rycroft Jan and Rycroft Porcelain, it just depends which size you want. This one is going to fall over less and be less droopy than this one. So this is Rycroft Jan. And because it's got smaller flower heads, when it rains, it's just not going to be as heavy. Whereas, as we saw with my plant, Rycroft Porcelain, because it's got a larger head, when it rains, the stems do droop a bit, because none of them have got particularly strong stems, especially at this point in the season when they've been flowering for at least a month. And then, as I said, Rosendale Natasha is a lovely white dahlia. I think it's a very similar white to Karma Martin Swan. So if you're looking for proper white dahlias, then definitely Rosendale Natasha, Karma Martin Swan, gorgeous, White Ballerina. And then let's not forget about this tiny little button dahlia, which I think is Small World, but somebody was refuting that and saying that in fact it was Snowflake. I think Snowflake is a larger dahlia than that. I think this is Small World. As I said, ignore the yellow centre to it, because normally it would just be all white, but this is quite old. I didn't have any that weren't old. So I've just gone and picked another tiny little ball dahlia, and I just wanted to show you one that I prefer. Now it's not white, but when it first opens it starts out very creamy white. It definitely does turn more mauvey, a very light pastel shade of mauve afterwards, but it's this one here called Rhonda. So this is quite a young flower, and I think that it's a really good substitute if you don't mind having a little bit of pink in. Let me focus that. So I think if you don't mind having a little bit of pink instead, that Rhonda actually is a much prettier dahlia than this one here called Small World, although I know loads of people swear by Small World. So here are a few of the other white flowers that I've got in the garden at the moment. So this is Cosmos called Cupcakes, which I think is absolutely gorgeous. This is Nicotiana. I'll put all the names up on the screen. This is the dahlia called Rhonda, and this is Madame Butterfly, a snapdragon called Madame Butterfly Ivory. And I think I'm just going to include this in the final photo so that we've got another idea of what the whites are like in comparison to the dahlias. I really hope you've had fun with me on this very blustery day, taking a look at all the white dahlias or cream ivory dahlias that I've got in the garden this year, and I hope that it's helped you choose some nice ones for next year. As I said before, if you'd like to see anything in particular covered, then do let me know in the comments below, and if enough people ask for it, then I may well cover it if I'm not going to do so already. Do subscribe if you'd like to see future comparisons of different colours that I'll be doing. I know I said I'd cover the pastel colours today, but it's starting to rain and I knew that it would. I knew I had a very small window. So I'm going to cover all the pastel colours in the next video, hopefully tomorrow or the day after, because I really do feel like it's going to start getting horribly cold. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.